Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So today we will talk about unleashing the true potential of digital transformation with robotic process automation. So my name is Shoaib Khan, and I am the Vice President Digital Transformation Solution for Abacus Consulting. And I have Guy Kirkwood with me, who is the Chief Evangelist Uipath. It's based out of London. So thank you, Guy, for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
So in today's session, it's a 45 minutes webinar, and I will briefly touch upon Abacus Consulting and UiPath, and then how RPA maps with the digital transformation. What could be the starting point for RPA, which is very confusing for a lot of people that I meet in this particular space, and how then I will hand it over to Guy Kirkwood to talk about combining AI with robotic process automation, which is a very exciting topic, and everybody's keeping an eye on this particular topic as well. And then ROI, which is very important in any business today. So definitely, Guy, from his experience, he's going to talk about ROI of RPA in details as well. So once Guy finishes the session, we can move on to Q&A session, and I would encourage everyone to write down their questions, and we will be happy to answer those questions. Right? We won't be able to take a lot of questions, but definitely if the questions are redundant, so we will be taking that, merging it, and try to answer it. But if there is any questions that are unanswered, so you can always reach out to us, and we will be happy to conduct a live session or a face-to-face session with you within your organization. So I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining Abacus because a lot of organizations in Pakistan and Middle East already know what Abacus is all about. We are a spin-off from PricewaterhouseCoopers Consulting. We started back in '87. So Abacus is one of the largest consulting, technology, and outsourcing company, both in terms of revenue and headcount. So when we talk about headcount, we are 2,500 people company. So as we speak now, we have delivered $220 million of transformation services through our 14 offices, and we have over 500 enterprise customers in 24 different countries. So when we talk about our 14 offices, so we've got offices in London, Dubai, and Riyadh. And in Pakistan, we've got multiple back offices as well. So there are multiple industries that we serve in. So in numbers, there are 40 industries we've been working across. And there are 12 line of transformation services or business unit, we call them. So digital transformation division, which I represent, is one of the 12 transformation services that Abacus provides to its customer. There are two tech ventures, which are startups. We are investing. These are wholly owned startups on the net promoter score front as well as on the price comparison website. So we are heavily investing in those startups as well. So this is the global footprint. Like I mentioned, we've got a blended on-site offshore delivery model where we have on-site camp offices, project offices in 24 different countries where we operate. And then we've got back offices to complement our customers who are in different geographies. So 24 locations as we speak now. So how Abacus can help with digital transformation. So being the practice area leader in the digital transformation space for my firm, I believe that digital transformation is not as simple as people think. A lot of people think that probably, having a fancy app or having a fancy website or having a good back office system is part of digital transformation. Yes, it is. But if you really want to accelerate the pace of digital transformation, so you need to be very clear from where to start. So if you just have a look at our offerings in the digital transformation space, so we've categorized it into three things. There are processes in every industry, in every organization, in every country. Then there are systems which are either working in silos or there is a SOA architecture which is integrating few systems, but mostly most of the systems, especially in the large industries and organizations, are running in silos. And then the third thing is the pressure to provide a customer-centric omni-channel experience to your customers. So these are the three things which are critical to every business, and every business today is a digital business. So according to PwC, 69% of the CEOs mentioned that we have a pressure to do a business growth or profits by cutting down the cost. And then 62% of those people mentioned that that can only happen if we adopt disruptive and innovative technologies, right? So for processes, I think robotic process automation is one area we believe that can help our customers or prospects kickstart in a very short stint of time, right? So robotic process automation for process automation. Then to integrate systems, we've got integration platform as a service, which is called SnapLogic. Then we've got API management platform to connect with the outer world. So you've got so many data, and you must have read so many articles and news and hype about this data, that the data is new oil. So definitely you want to monetize that data. So then if you want to monetize that data, you have to build a microservices architecture and connect yourself with the outer world, so that you can expose your digital assets to the outer world and monetize it accordingly. And you know then we talk about the deep learning AI based deep learning algorithm, AI based communication platform, chatbots. So for that, we are also partnered with the Silicon Valley based company called Pejo, so that we can ensure uh, NLP and predictive prescriptive analytics, and then self learning and adaptive interaction are part of this AI platform as well. And the last piece is the front desk, because if you want to have a single presentation layer, single service layer, single backend, so and one single source code, so there is a platform called Kony to ensure a digital experience, or omni-channel experience that you build across multiple channels and multiple systems. So this is how I would like to talk about our practice. So I would like to reiterate its processes, and Uipath is the best platform that we've come across. Then we've got SnapLogic and Google to connect internally all the systems and then expose your digital assets to the outer world. And then for front end, mobile app designing and website developments and all that stuff, you've got a Kony platform, which is an omni-channel platform, and then AI-based chatbots, so that the bots can not only just communicate with your customers, but also learn based on the context and transactions and the data that it has, and then perform different communication metrics along it. So moving on, so we picked up all the right partners to help our customers leapfrog and go to the next level in a very short stint of time. So we picked up UiPath because, keeping in mind that it has been experiencing the fastest growth in the last couple of months, you'll be surprised to know that the company grew from $1 million to $100 million in less than 2 years time frame. So, and the main reason for that is the DNA of this organization, which is innovation. I mean, they don't call themselves as a tech company; it's an innovation company. They have been investing heavily in the AI space so that they can take robotic process automation subject as a next step. So 183 million has been invested so far in Series A and Series B funding. The biggest piece came last quarter. 100 and so if you talk about, I mean, they started back in 2005, and in just one decade they have 1,500 enterprise customers through 21 offices across 4 countries, and the community is so huge that if you adopt the platform, so you can have access to the people, access to the knowledge, access to the experience, right? So UiPath has over 200,000 people in the community who are the active users. and then the annual recurring revenue is 100 million. But I wanted to mention that the company is valued at 1.1 billion dollars, which makes it unique, in the market and the leader in the market. So if you talk about the subject RPA, so be it Forrester, Everest Group, HFS, so they've indicated that Uipath is definitely the clear leader in the robotic process automation space. So, business case for RPA is, now I just want to come to the point, because in my personal experience, I've visited so many industries, be it banking, be it telecom, retail, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and there is just one thing that is common. There is a pressure on the CEOs to cut down their costs. Number two, increase new revenue streams. Number three, improve customer experience. So these are the three things which are very important for any business right now. So how do you cut down the cost, right? So I mean, we need to talk about it in a perspective, because if you really want to cut down the cost, we're not saying that you just start everything, you just dump everything that you have in the system of records or back offices. What we're saying is you can have an additional layer, and whatever tasks which are mundane, repetitive, high volume, and massive human intervention is required, and the time consuming things, so these things can be automated, right? uh, Moving on, if you just have a look at some statistics, I just don't want to bombard you with the statistics, but these statistics are important for you to understand, build a business case for your sponsors, be it your CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, CDOs. So you need to be convinced that we need to have a robotic process automation tool, and why do we need it, so that you can go to your sponsors and fight your case. So if you just look at the McKinsey's report, 45% of the activities individuals are paid to perform can be adopted by adapting currently demonstrated technologies like RPA. So which amounts to $2 trillion of workforce cost reduction, which is simply mind-boggling. So if you compare a robot with a human being, so one third. So RPA software actually cost you one third of the price of an offshore resource, and one fifth of the cost of about price of an offshore worker. So this is how this domain is evolving, and 98% of IT businesses leaders say that we drive some real business benefits out of robotic process automation. So according to Deloitte, over 600 tasks can be automated with the help of RPA. Just imagine a human being performing these tasks manually, and they have to go through different processes, actions, sequences, systems. So everything is going to be automated with the help of robot. So, and the last one is based on a recent report by Transparency Market Research, RPA is expected to see a compound annual growth rate of about 60.5% worldwide through 2020, which is simply amazing, because I was reading one of the articles that RPA has the potential to cross cloud computing by 2025, which means the potential that RPA has, that no other technologies, be it cloud, mobile, or even internet, has in the days to come. So this is something that we should go to our sponsors and build a business case around it. So what could be the starting point for RPA? Because it's a good technology, everyone believes in it, and everyone thinks that, yeah, there is a lot of uh, discussions around RPA subjects internally and externally. There are so many organizations who are just jumping on the bandwagon, but what should be the starting point? And this is where I advise them that you need to start small, right? And when I say start small, you need to test the water, right? Assess your current processes. You don't have to just pick up 100 processes and just start from there. Maybe just pick up 2 to 3 processes, right? Engage us, and we will do a POC for you. We've done it for so many customers. be it, and we offer free POCs because the capability of platform is so strong that it's not very time consuming. So you pick up 2 to 3 processes, you launch a POC, and then you see it from your own eyes. I mean, the proof is in pudding. If you like it, eat it. If you don't like it, then that's your call. But once you believe the business value by automating your processes, then you can scale up. So you need to prepare a proper business case, and you need to prepare a roadmap for robotic process automation to be presented to your sponsors or board or whoever the decision maker is in your organization. And then you assemble a team, because if you believe in this thing that can help you save cost, that can help you improve the productivity, that can help you take you to the next level. So it's important that you have to have a team dedicated towards RPA who would just pick up the use cases or the business processes that are repetitive, that are mundane, that are time consuming. So you pick it up, the team has to work on it, and then you expand RPA across different business units that you have. So how do you excel with RPA? Then you think out of the box. That team's job is to pick up different processes uh, across different line of businesses. I'm going to talk about those processes and line of businesses that can be automated to start with. But you need to implement robotic process automation not for just 1, 2, 3, 4 processes, not for just 1 or 2 departments, not for just 1 or 2 line of businesses. You need to implement RPA across your organization to be able to achieve the result that you want. So it has to be high volumes. So I mean, just to give you an example, if you have a workload in any of the department where human intervention is required, for instance, call centers. So we've seen so many BPO companies having 20,000 resources. We have so many procurement departments from where they have people from 50 to 250, right? So high volume work needs attention, right? This is where you can actually save some human resource and some cost, and then improve efficiency. The turnaround time is going to be definitely quicker. So unchangeable processing methods or system to start with, then automation savings in full-time employees, and mature and stable processes. So these, most of the points are pretty much interlinked or redundant, but these are the processes that you should pick up while conducting a POC or while building a business case. And then you'll see it for yourself what value you're going to achieve by automating those tasks. So if, for instance, you pick up 2, 3 processes and you are able to sort of save a cost of two full-time employees, so it makes a business case for you. So these are the processes that every company should automate. So customer service, I talked about it. In the BPO industry, every business, be it bank, telecom, public services, retail, pharmaceutical, healthcare, they have a customer service department, right? And they do a lot of repetitive and high volume work. So that needs to be automated with the robotic process automation. So yeah, so customer services, finance and accounting, procurement and supply chain management, human resources. So these are the few areas which you can pick up and start one by one uh, to sort of build the robotic process automation case. So if we talk about customer services, so I mean, in customer services, customer onboarding is usually a cumbersome process where probably you would need some documents from the customer, especially in case of banking and telecom customers. You would need to scan those documents. You need to pick up a relevant information from those particular documents. Send it to different departments, record it in different system of records. So all of these things can be automated with the help of robots. Customer queries and such as billing data. So right now we're doing it in a traditional way where we just give them what they want, but definitely there are different variations, different systems, different records from the robot can go and fetch the data from and answer the need of your customer. So customer complaint management is another exciting area. So we've recently conducted a POC for one of the leading telecom companies in the region, and the idea was to reduce the uh, turnaround time for their complaints, outgoing customer complaints. And previously, I mean, because they were very methodological, so they were running this process, and the process was taking pretty much about one call was taking about 7.5 minutes. So with the help of Uipath robotic process automation tool, we reduced that from 7.5 minutes to 40 seconds. So this is the kind of value. So just imagine if that um, telecom company is using 2,000 call center agents to resolve complaints, and the volume is high and the turnaround time is more. So with this tool, so they can do the job in less time and with less resources. So customer reports is another area, uh, especially in the banking sector. For instance, you need uh, bank statements, right? And you need bank statement from X date to X date. You need to file your tax returns, right? And you need to get information from your finance department that how much tax I've paid in the last, say, 3 months, or in 1 year, or in last 5 years. And I want to know that how much I've paid month by month, year by year. So these are the reports that you don't have to engage your finance manager or your CFO to get that kind of information. So you can give that data to your customers, your employees, with the help of robots. So these are the things that can be automated with the help of robotic process automation. So finance and accounting is a very exciting area. I'm sure that a lot of CFOs and finance heads are attending this session as well. Uh, so account receivable and payable. So we all know that it's a backbone of our organization. So cash flow is the key to every business, and keeping a track on account receivables, sending them reminders, giving a 360-degree view of your receivables, that what is the age of the invoice, what are the threats, when should we get the payment, auto reminders, and then posting it in different systems, notify different people, be it from the business side or a finance side or a risk side. So these are the things which are partially being done by the human beings and partially being ignored by human beings, will 100% being done by robots. And then payable is another thing. If we want to pay somebody at a certain time, we have stringent contracting clauses to pay in 60 days or 90 days. So of course, then we need to be aware of the fact that we need to pay. Otherwise, the penalty can kick in. Maybe there can be other repercussions. So robots would not only give you just the reminders, but help you prepare the complete case for you to be presented to the next level, and then make the payments as well. So with less human intervention. Invoices management is another part. It's a very repetitive work. We have set pattern or format of invoices. So we just get the details from business team, put it in the invoice format, get it signed, and just send it to the people, right? So, or the organization. So if we have a robot doing all these things with the precision, quickly, and and without human intervention, so of course it helps. So invoice management is another area that can be automated with the robotic process automation. Data extraction for accounting close is we do quarter endings, we do month endings, we do year ending, and we need to extract a lot of data. And what we do is we are dependent on the human workforce to fetch that data for us. And if the data is in numbers, it's a tedious process and it takes a lot of time to fetch that data. So data extraction can also be performed through robots. Financial reporting, the visibility on your ARs, your payables, your billing details, your management accounts, everything can be done with the help of a robot instead of a human being. So these are few processes, and while I say that everything is being done by the robot, it does not mean that we don't require human workforce. So it complements human workforce. So it's not a threat for human workforce, which means it helps your finance team to expedite the work, and you reduce the pressure to increase more headcount to perform large volume work. So the idea is you just keep your resources whatever you have, and whenever you want to scale, it's better that you implement a technology like robotic process automation. So procurement and supply chain management is another area where you should focus at when it comes to implementing the robotic process automation. So visibility on supply and demand is the key in so many businesses, right? So, and just imagine if you have multiple systems, you have multiple partners, you have multiple agents, multiple salespeople working on different systems from different locations. So keeping a visibility is an uphill task. So that robot is going to give you, 360-degree view of your demands, right, and your supply needs. And this planning can be done by the robots itself. So I'm sure I'm very high level in so many things that I'm saying right now, but you don't need to be worried about it. So what we do is we, after the session, maybe you can send an email to us, and we will be happy to come to you and explain every area of your interest in more details, and we will be happily doing the proof of concept for you so that you actually believe that these things can be doable with the robots. Because when we use the word robot, people think that probably it's a physical robot doing some stuff. It's like a sci-fi story. It's not going to happen in near future. So that's not the case. Even in countries like Pakistan, we have implementations for such use cases, which we will be happy to talk about it. Right? Purchase orders, invoicing and billing. So these are also, there are so many repetitive things and uncreative things that can be done with the help of robots, and the shipment tracking and status can also be checked automatically by the robot, notify the relevant people, and do some decision making on top of that as well. So human resource, I'm sure that most of the people joining are struggling for a good talent, and having a good talent is getting more challenging every passing day. Uh, and we get 200, 500, and 1000 CVs, in a very short stint of time. And then we realize going through all those resumes, screening them, and then selecting them is like a tedious task. And we don't, and one person cannot do it. And then we look for at least three people, we split the work and let people, screen all those things. But with the help of robots, you can not only screen it, you can define a selection criteria, you can pick up people, and you can hire. And once the person is onboarded, you can just schedule their orientation session, you can help them with introduction with the other departments. So these are the things that can be done by that. And monthly payroll is something that can also be done. Travel and expense management, these are all processes, and right now these are very painful processes, but definitely these things can be done with the help of robotic process automation. So the thought that I want to leave on the table for everyone attending is, yes, you need to seriously think about automating the business processes. And this is different than a BPM, because in BPM, there is a lot of change management required. In RPA, there is no change management required. It's easy to implement. The outcome is quick. You're not looking at a 6 months or a 1 year project. You're looking at projects that can be done in months, if not weeks. You can go process by process. You can clearly see a value to your business teams, your IT teams, that look, we don't have to keep hiring people for something that can be done with the help of robots. And robots don't go on leaves, they don't get tired, they don't sleep, they don't have excuses, they don't want to go to washrooms and stuff. So productivity and everything can be achieved. Cost is the major factor in every business, and it's important that we pick up the right technologies which are easy to implement. Outcomes are quicker, and results can be seen in a very short time. And I think robotic process automation is the answer for it. So with this thought, I would like to hand over the session to my colleague Guy Kirkwood, who is the chief evangelist of Uipath. He's the one building the future of work for AI and RPA. So he's a thought leader in this particular space, and I'm sure you're going to love your session from now onwards.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed. Great synopsis. I was going to talk a bit about Uipath, but as one of our key implementation partners in Pakistan and in the Middle East, that job has been done for me. So what I'm going to do instead is talk a bit about what we're seeing in the market. That might be more helpful for you, and have a look at what we're seeing in terms of trends in the market that could be useful for you as you decide to use automation technologies, both RPA and AI. So, what is the future of business? So, I do a lot of work with the analyst companies, and Diego's with Forrester, and he said that adoption of new technologies, and that's both RPA and AI type technologies.
Hi, Guy, I'm sorry for breaking in. I hate to do that, but we can't see your screen. If you can just please.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me escape out of that. Okay, fantastic. Apologies, everyone. I work for a technology company. Technology never works. So yeah, as Diego Forrester has said, that adoption of new technologies is becoming embedded with change. So what we're seeing is that as organizations go through this digital transformation journey, and almost every organization is going through digital transformation, because there is a reason that Amazon and Uber have become verbs. No one wants to get Ubered. Then technologies like RPA, robotic process automation, and AI type tools are becoming more and more prevalently. And you need it because, as Leslie Wilcox, who's a professor at London School of Economics, has said, you need automation just to relieve the stress created in organizations. We're seeing that particularly in Japan, because the demographic time bomb went off in Japan in 2010. So the Japanese population peaked in 2010 and is falling, plus all of the baby boomers are now retiring. So the amount of work that workers do is becoming dangerous levels. And there's actually a word in Japanese called karishi, which means to work oneself to death. So in Japan, we're seeing huge increase. So Uipath only landed there about a year ago, and we've already got 400 customers in Japan, including 75% of Japan's banks. So the hype around rampant RPA adoption is definitely warranted. So a lot of these new technologies get hyped, but actually the adoption rates of RPA has just been staggering. Phil Furst is the chief exec of HFS, another analyst firm. But you definitely need help. You definitely need help in order to utilize these technologies in a sensible way. And to give you an example, this is one of our customers in the UK, Admiral Insurance. And as it said there, Neil Davis, who runs that operation, started with one robot, one license 18 months ago. Actually, it's about 20 months ago now. And they've now got robots in 10 of their 12 corporate departments. The building you see on the right-hand side there actually has 12 floors, and those different departments on every floor. And they've now got robots on 10 of them. And that is across the whole business. So that's back office functions like finance and accounting, procurement and HR, through the mid office, industry specific processes like claims processing, first notice of loss, dealing with brokers, and customer service operations. So call center operations, customer experience operations. So there really is there's no limit to where RPA can actually spread. Another example is the speed with which this can happen. So DWP, in this case, is Department for Work and Pensions. It's the largest government department in the UK. And they were amazed by moving from concept to deployment in 12 weeks. And they've saved £6 million, it's about 7 million euros, on the pilot alone. And they were just astounded by that. One myth-busting bit from Helen from Gartner. These technologies are going to be net job promoters. They're going to create more jobs than they're going to destroy. And the reason for that is that we're right in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, or just starting the fourth industrial revolution. And If you think back to the first industrial revolution in about 1760, with the invention of the spinning jenny and then steam power, 98% of people worked the land before the first industrial revolution. Does that mean, because that is now 2% in the world, that 96% of the world's population is unemployed? No, of course not. So what we're seeing is that jobs will change as a result of automation and AI. They won't disappear. So don't worry about the fact that the robots are coming to take all your jobs. That is definitely not what we're seeing. To give you, Shahab mentioned that customer service is a big area. We are definitely seeing this. Last year, 70% of our revenues came from back office, unattended robots, and 30% came from attended, so customer service type operations. That is changing, so it's now about 60-40. I imagine that by the end of this year, it's going to be about 50-50. And in fact, ultimately, I think they're going to be more attended robots helping and augmenting staff within your organizations, as opposed to the unattended corporate back office type functions. But is it a miracle cure? No, it's not. For anyone that's interested, Belviq is the latest wonder drug for losing weight. That means that you can lose weight without killing your heart. We will wait to see whether it actually occurs. So it's not a miracle cure. It's not a silver bullet. It's a series of tools that you can use, because the important thing is return on investment, as Sarab said. You have to have a good return on investment in order to make it justifiable. And in order to accelerate that, you have to be able to deal with the unstructured data. The reason I've used that picture there is that PDF is structured data. Adobe PDFs are structured data. RPA can pull that out natively, whereas JPEG, or indeed if you're operating over Citrix, what you're looking at is a picture. And so you need computer vision, one of the AI tools, in order to do that. And that's something that Uipath has been ahead of the market and may explain some of our growth, particularly within shared service operations and in BPO organizations. So AI is where RPA was 2 years ago. I did a webinar in February actually, and asked the question, what are organizations doing with AI? And the answers were almost exactly the same as they were for RPA 2 years ago. But I think AI will accelerate into the market much faster than RPA has done. And to give you a couple of examples, KPMG in India have used a combination of RPA plus NLP, natural language processing, plus machine learning, ML, and they've automated 45% of their entire audit process. This is the core business of KPMG. And they're achieving an 85% accuracy rate, which is pretty astounding. Another example is in South Africa, actually, which Hollard is an insurance business, and they're using MCT there is Microsoft Cognitive Toolkit, plus Watson, plus Abby, which is intelligent OCR, and orchestrated by Uipath, dealing with entirely unstructured data. So 98% of those 1.5 million emails that the organization gets in a year never see a human, now fully autonomous, and the cost per transaction, as you see there, has dropped dramatically. Another example is PepsiCo. So it's not just smaller organizations, it's the big guys too. So within 9 months, then PepsiCo has both RPA and AI making an impact on the business. So this is something that I'm looking at personally, because this is the future. So if you imagine that RPA is mimicking human physical activity, moving information through and between systems, what LTL, linear temporal logic, is it mimics human cognitive activity. Now, we are nowhere near be able to implement this, but this is the stuff that's really at the cutting edge. And the best example of that is the difference between AlphaGo, which was developed by DeepMind to beat the world champion at Go, the game Go, and AlphaGo Zero. So it took AlphaGo 7 months to beat the world champion. It took AlphaGo Zero, which started with nothing and just trained itself, learned from playing itself, 7 days to beat AlphaGo. which is pretty astounding. So here we're talking not about artificial intelligence, it's much more about artificial intuition. And really what's driven the growth of Uipath is working with organizations like Abacus. So it's the implementation partners and the implementation partners pushing that digital transformation agenda into organizations because you need it. That's really driving this. But there are another 3 ecosystems. So there's the small AI companies that want to bake themselves into Uipath because we're growing so fast, as Shoaib mentioned. There is the large independent software vendors, the Oracles, the SAPs, and so on. They want to bake our platform into theirs because we address business issues. We are not selling to IT people, we're selling to business operations teams. And that allows them to address an entirely new route to market. And finally is the community of people who are actually, as Shoaib mentioned, we've got 200,000 people around the world, all now automating stuff using Uipath. And utilizing the 4 of those ecosystems is really what's driving a lot of the growth. I won't talk about training now, but as you can see from there, we're extending our training platform not only to those developers and the people that are building COEs, but also to children, to students, and to those affected by automation. And you'll hear more about that over the next few weeks and months. Andrew Eng at Stanford University, he has said that the automation is the new electricity. And frankly, no one cares where electricity comes from as long as we turn in the switch, the light goes on. And that's essentially what's going to happen to automation and AI, because it will just disappear, not because it's not going to get used, but because it's going to get used everywhere. And ultimately, what we're looking at is one robot for all. So that is a robot that will help them do the task that you don't want to do, physically moving information between systems that you have to do your job, but you really hate, and then augmenting or helping you to do the stuff that you do want to do. Dave Johnson, who's Forrester, is saying that this is not a digital transformation, is not a technology issue, it's a cultural issue. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So the idea is to be happy. I love this slide. And one example of that is Generali, big insurance business, Italian-based. And the mood music has changed. Our people are happier, and we now measure the service in terms of compliments. That's a radical departure of using these type of technologies. I think I'll stop there. For anyone that's got any questions, we are opening the panel up to questions now. But if anyone's got any questions, you can follow me on Twitter at Guy Kirkwood, and also email me, so guy@uipath.com. But let me not pass back now to Shoaib to deal with any questions that people have got, either on what he said or on what I said.
So thank you so much. Amazing perspective, Guy. We really loved it. There are a few questions that I can see. One of them is, how do you compare RPA with BPM?
Yeah.
That's the first question that I can see on my screen.
Okay, good question. So in fact, we're going through that right now because we had a discussion with Gartner. So Gartner are about to start their first RPA Magic Quadrant. And the Magic Quadrant is, Forrester have got their wave, and we came up top in that. Everest have got their peak. There's all the different things, different ways of describing the market in which you operate, the category. Gartner, the people that are doing the MQ, the Magic Quadrant, one of them comes from the world that I come from, which is shared service and outsourcing. And that's Kathy Tornborn, who's brilliant. The other 3 who are also excellent come from the BPM world. So they consider BPM to be doing stuff properly, and consider RPA to be a dirty fix, essentially. So if you can connect all of the systems up in a if you can consider the BPM to connect things through APIs, because RPA operates through the user interface, there is a big difference in the way that it operates. But what we're starting to see is a merger between those type of technologies. And I don't mean that there's going to be a big blob in the middle that contains BPM and CRM and ERP and RPA and AI. No one's going to dominate that market in the same way that, say, the IBMs and the Microsofts did in the sort of 80s, 90s, and noughties. But what we're going to see is that growth of the ecosystem, which I mentioned, where these type of technologies blur on the edges. So we're working very closely with Bazangi and K2 and ServiceNow to work on operations that are synergistic to BPM and add to the ability of BPM rather than replace it. I hope that's answered the question.
Great. So the next question is, how do you distinguish between a traditional automation project with robotic process automation? So where is the main difference between the traditional automation that we do and the robotic process automation, and how it is different than the traditional way of automating your systems or processes? So I think what I've understood is that they're asking if they've already got ERPs and CRMs implemented, which are highly automated systems, right? So and they also claim that we have already a tool which is fully automated. We've got all the processes within those systems. So how does RPA help them here?
Okay, so to answer that question, I think automation has been around for decades in terms of screen scraping and macros and those sort of things. The big advantage of using RPA is that it's become cleverer. Though there was a slide that I had earlier, I didn't share it actually, which is which Everest talks about a virtuous circle. So the technology platforms, that could be from Uipath or from our competitors like Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere or Kofax or WorkFusion. There are a number of different technologies you can use. Those technologies are becoming more adept. They're becoming so that you can deals with exceptions better. So you can automate more of your processes. And what that's doing is it's driving up adoption in customers and clients. And what that's doing is attracting, as you mentioned, Shoaib, the venture capital private equity organizations, which are now pumping money into these technology platforms, including ours, at a rate of knots. And that means that we can then start to develop new technologies or build better partnerships with the BPM or ERP or CRM type organizations like Salesforce and so on, which again then enhances the capability of the platform. So that virtuous circle is really what's driving the growth, but it also allows organizations to automate more of their processes. And that's the only true measure. And that's why you want to deal with the semi and unstructured data as well as to do the structured data, because RPA is limited in many ways to just dealing with the structured data. So if you can deal with the unstructured data using these type of AI type tools, then that adds to the capability of your business and makes you more agile and your customers happier. Your employees happier, as I mentioned.
Great. I think one last question, because we cannot take so many questions, is how AI is being used in Uipath to help any particular tasks. Is it doing any deep learning based on the actions, or is it something, a very basic level, machine learning based algorithm?
Okay, so most unusually, I mean, we are Uipath. One of the strengths of Uipath, as you know, is is that we're very open. We're incredibly easy to deal with, incredibly easy to work with. And by being open, I mean genuinely, we are open with everybody. So we even publish our roadmap. So in terms of what we're doing with the different AI tools, we're working with organizations like Humley, Humley. So what Humley are doing is they work on the ontologies, industry or process-specific ontologies for natural language processing. Why? It's because ultimately you will control your computer by voice. And let's say you're sitting in a bank and something comes in the robot doesn't understand. You say, okay, stick that in the Wells account. The system has to understand that Wells in this case means Wells Fargo. It doesn't mean a hole in the ground with water at the bottom. We're working with Celonis, Celonis. Celonis is a process mapping, process mining organization, actually backed by Accels, one of our backers as well. What they're doing is that they're working out what the humans are actually doing, as opposed to what they say they're doing, or indeed what's happening in what is written in the documentation, because it's never the same. So the output of that at the moment is a map on the entire process end to end. Ultimately, what we're working on, and it's not ready yet, but ultimately what we're working on is the output of the Celonis will be a XAML script, an XAML script, that will become the robot. In other words, we're building self-building robots. Another thing is on machine learning. So we're working with Stanford ML and Google ML, because one of our backers is capital G, which is Alphabet's venture arm. So with Google ML and with Stanford ML, what we're doing there is we're building self-healing robots. So as an exception comes up, then the ML system will kick in, recognize that as an exception, learn from it, so that that exception then doesn't become an issue anymore, and it will become automatically fixed for the next time. We're working with a company called Enate, E-N-A-T-E. They are a British company, and they focus on the orchestration of work between robots and humans. WorkFusion, for instance, talk a lot about human in the loop. So what we're doing with Enate is that there are some things, some tasks that humans are always going to be better at than robots. So orchestrating the work between the robots and humans is really important. So and so that's what Enate does. So all of these type of technologies are being baked into Uipath to make it more efficient and more effective for customers.
Yeah, so I thank you so much, Guy. But there is just one last question, and I'm getting personal text on my cell phone to help them understand this particular question. It's related to the timelines, because they're saying, BPM is like an ongoing thing, right? So the question is regarding the timeline in terms of implementation timelines to implement the platform, and then what approach Uipath suggests to automate different processes from different line of businesses, and should they start with one process in one line of business, or they should just start across different line of businesses at once? But the main question is regarding the time to market and outcomes when they can actually see.
So as I mentioned when I rattled through the slides, the time to return on investment, we're talking weeks, not months. So you can start small, as I've mentioned, and there's an advantage to doing that, because it provides you with an example of the value of RPA that you can then show to your board. In fact, the best possible way of doing it is to find someone that is doing a particular task that you think might be automatable, and you video them. In fact, the best person, not the average person, but the best person at any particular task in your organization, and you video them. Then you do a POC with Abacus, and you automate that task, and you video the robot doing it. There is nothing more powerful than going to your board saying, here is the best person in our organization, and this is how fast they do this particular task, and this is what we managed to automate. And my recommendation is actually to do a hackathon, where don't just come to us, because Uipath is the biggest in the market now and the leader, but there are, as I mentioned, other technologies that you can try. So my recommendation is to do a hackathon. Use the implementation partners like Abacus to set up a hackathon. You choose 2 or 3 different processes that you think might be appropriate to automate, and then you invite in Uipath and Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere, and possibly WorkFusion, and you say, ready, steady, go, automate that lot. And you will very quickly learn which organization you want to work with. And by the way, the answer isn't always Uipath, but you will then very quickly learn, which organization you want to work with to actually do the automation. And it is in a matter of weeks. The DWP example, 12 weeks from inception to £6 million saving just on the pilot. And SMBC, which is one of our biggest customers actually in Japan, they've saved 3 million work hours so far, and we've only been there 9 months. 3 million work hours. So you can scale up very, very fast. So start small, focus on what you want to do, set up your center of excellence with the help of Abacus, and then scale out from there is my recommendation.
Great. So, great. Thank you so much, Guy. Really appreciate your time, and we definitely learned a lot today from particularly your session. It was very, thought provoking. There is a huge need, in every country for robotic process automation, and I can tell that our sales, pre-sales, and tech teams are fully busy, supporting our customers with the POCs and evolving their requirements. And I encourage everyone watching this video to get in touch with Abacus Consulting and request for a POC. It's a free proof of concept using Uipath technology, where we help you identify your processes so that you can see the value and you can show the value to your stakeholders internally, to be able to move to the next steps. So seeing is believing, and Uipath implementation is really quick. It's agile, which means that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get started with robotic process automation implementation. You can start as small as you want, and then grow gradually and organically. So this is pretty much it for today's session, and I really appreciate your time. And definitely the recorded video of this session will be available soon. But in case you have any questions or concerns or any request, please get in touch with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.